All right, let's dive into one of the most critical and honestly one of the most misunderstood areas in all of cybersecurity today, and that is identity. We're not just talking about usernames and passwords anymore. No, we're talking about the very fabric of who and what gets access to your most sensitive data. And it all starts with a huge shift in how attackers are getting in. This one idea right here, it perfectly captures the entire modern threat landscape. The game has totally changed. See, attackers figured out it's way easier to just steal a legitimate key and walk right in the front door than it is to try and smash through a reinforced wall. They aren't hacking in, they're logging in. And just how big of a problem are we talking about here? Well, get this. A staggering 80% of all cyber attacks today involve compromised identities. This isn't some side issue. This is the main event. It is the primary battlefield where security is either won or lost. Let's be really clear. If you are not getting identity right, you are not getting security right. Period. Okay, so if this is such a massive problem, why is it so incredibly hard to solve? Well, it really boils down to this fundamental disconnect that's happening inside most organizations. We're basically dealing with two completely different worlds, both trying to solve the same problem, but they're not talking to each other at all. Think of it like a house divided. On one side, you have the IT team. They're in charge of all the human identities, your employees, your customers. But then on the other side of the house, you've got DevOps and engineering, and they're managing this exploding universe of non-human identities for all the apps and services. The problem is they use different tools, they have different priorities, they're operating in total silos. And that gap right between them, that's the sweet spot. That's exactly where attackers love to live. And this disconnect, it just creates a much bigger problem. Because when you actually peek under the hood and see how identity is managed in the real world, well, it's almost never a clean, simple system. It's a tangled, complicated, absolute mess. I mean, just for the human side of things, it's pure chaos. Sure, you've got your modern cloud identity providers like Okta or Microsoft, but you probably also have some 25-year-old homegrown system that the company's been trying to get rid of for a decade, but it just refuses to die. Then you've got tons of old legacy apps that can't support modern security like multi-factor authentication. Nope. Instead, they've got passwords hard-coded in text files or sitting in SQL tables. Now, just layer on top of all that the complexity of hybrid and multi-cloud setups, and what you have is a maze of risk. And at the exact same time, the number of non-human identities is just exploding. We're talking about the identity of the application itself. We're talking about countless API keys so services can talk to each other, security certificates, and now a massive new category, AI, and AI agents, which often need incredibly high levels of access to do their jobs. And these are usually managed in a totally ad hoc way, which just creates even more dangerous blind spots. So, what's the result of all this? What's the bottom line? It means that a foundational security principle like least privileged access, the simple idea that an identity should only have the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job, it becomes basically impossible to enforce. I mean, when your policies are scattered across dozens of different disconnected systems, how can you ever be sure they're being applied consistently everywhere? The short answer is you can't, and attackers know this. Now, this all sounds pretty bleak, I know, but there is a much smarter, more pragmatic way to tackle this. It's a concept called the identity fabric. And the core idea here is to unify all this complexity, but to do it without forcing everyone into a massive, painful rip-and-replace project. So what exactly is an identity fabric? Well, think of it like an intelligent layer that sits on top of all your existing identity tools. It doesn't get rid of them. Instead, it connects them. It allows them to finally work together, to speak the same language. It augments what you already have and creates a single, cohesive whole from all those separate parts. It's a practical solution for a really messy reality. So that's the big idea, but what does it actually do for you? What does success look like? Well, a successful identity fabric helps you achieve 6 critical security goals that are frankly almost impossible to do in a fragmented system. Let's break them down. First up, and this is maybe the most important, observability. You can't secure what you can't see. This is all about finding the hidden risks, the shadow IT system somebody set up years ago, the secrets hard-coded deep inside applications, and crucially, seeing how human and non-human accounts are interacting. For example, if a machine account suddenly starts being used by 20 different human users, that is a massive red flag that you need to be able to see instantly. Goal number 2 is frictionless access. And this is just a beautiful win-win situation. By moving away from clunky, annoying passwords and toward modern tech like passkeys, you radically improve the login experience for your users while at the same time making it much, much harder for attackers. You're removing the friction for the good guys and adding a ton of it for the bad guys. It's perfect. Third, we have got to get a handle on all of those non-human credentials. Centralized secrets management is all about creating one single, secure, and totally auditable place to manage all your API keys, your database credentials, your cloud secrets, the whole shebang. It's about knowing where they all are, who is using them, and, most importantly, having the power to revoke them in an instant if you need to. Okay, now this next one, this is a total game changer. Instead of having static secrets that live forever, like that database password that hasn't been changed in 5 years, we move to dynamic, just-in-time credentials. So an application needs to talk to a database? Great. A unique credential is created for that one specific task, and it expires just moments later. If a secret like that ever leaks, the window of opportunity for an attacker is measured in seconds, not years. Next up is Privileged Access Management, or PAM. Now, PAM isn't a new idea, but here's the problem. Most organizations have only managed to apply these controls to a tiny fraction of their most important accounts. With auditors and cyber insurance companies now demanding proof of 100% coverage, getting this right has become a massive business imperative. We're talking about the keys to the kingdom, and every single one of them needs to be protected. And finally, we move from just playing defense to playing offense with Identity Threat Detection and Response, or ITDR. This is all about actively hunting for threats in real time. Can you see when a user accesses a sensitive app but somehow manages to bypass the mandatory MFA check? ITDR is what lets you find and stop those identity-based attacks as they happen, not months and months later after the damage is already done. So those are the goals. They sound great, right? But how do you actually get there? How do you get from the tangled mess to the unified fabric? The good news is the path forward can be broken down into a really clear 3-phase action plan. It all starts with phase 1, inspect. You have to discover everything, all your hard-coded secrets, your shadow identities, all the security gaps. Remember that mantra, you cannot secure what you cannot see. Once you have that visibility, then you move to phase 2, protect. This is where you put those core controls into place that we just talked about, centralized secrets management, PAM, and ITDR. And finally, you get to phase 3, govern. This is where you bring it all together to manage the full life cycle of every single identity, human and non-human, with consistent automated workflows from the moment they're created to the moment they're deleted. So that brings us to the final, crucial question you have to ask yourself. Is your organization's security a tangled mess? Or is it a unified fabric? The answer to that could very well determine your security future. I'd love to hear what you think. Does this model reflect the reality that you see every day? Share your own experiences and your insights in the comments below. And hey, if you found this breakdown valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you get all the new content. Sharing this with others who are tackling the same challenge would be amazing too. Thanks for tuning in.